So now I just want to ask everyone this question. So we talked about these emerging technologies. Like, do you think these technologies are correlated with accounting? Can they impact accounting profession? If so, how? So here I want to hear your voice, and let's have a discussion. So
I can kind of touch on that.
sure.
I think that overall, I think a lot of this threatens accounting and how, in a traditional sense, and how it was operated, because a lot of the functions that either accounting auditing does can be, I guess, artificially intelligent. They can implement artificial intelligence and kind of do the same thing in a sense. So I think it's a threat. I'm interested to learn more about how the industry is moving to take this technology and leverage it into something else. I'm sure we're going to get into it in that course, but that's kind of what I'm interested in, because I see it as a big threat in the traditional sense. So the industry obviously needs to adapt and change. So I think it's, a back and forth.
Right. Thank you. So Adam mentioned that he worries that AI will basically take over accountants' job, right? It's threatening to accountants. So what other opinions do you guys have?
I can speak on that.
Yes, Matt, and then Jennifer. Oh, maybe Jennifer goes first. Ladies first.
It's okay. No, I was just gonna say I just never mind. Bye. Went away.
I think you can add to the accounting profession in the sense of machine learning, training computers to recognize patterns. It can also do the same thing for accounting and do the opposite and maybe recognize discrepancies that an audit team can look at, or things along that line.
Right. That's a good comment. Yeah. So actually, the usage of machine learning in accounting or auditing to detect anomalies is being discussed right now. And we will discuss how machine learning can be applied to detect fraud, detect statements, or predict, management's estimations. So yes, these are very good examples of how emerging technologies, especially machine learning, can impact accounting. So Jennifer, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I got it. I had to write it down. So what I would say is I think they're going to augment our work in accounting rather than replace us, because there's too many our manual review, our knowledge on. But I think of all the technology that's out there, it's kind of like a hobby store. Like one of those stores like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. So there's all these wonderful little bits and pieces out there in the technology world and in the hobby store. And you could literally make anything that you want. It's all up to your imagination and all to which place you feel like it'll fit best or where it'll look at the coolest. So it's only going to augment our ability to do our jobs rather than replace us whatsoever.
I like your optimism.
I agree with Jen. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. So let's switch to my computer. I think that cloud computing is very important for the accounting profession because it's changing the way we deal with clients. Even working at home, like accountants can have access to information via cloud computing that they wouldn't have access without it.
Right.
So it's definitely benefiting, at least now, I think it is benefiting.
Yes. We are going to have more discussion in the next Monday about how the pandemic is affecting everything, right? Especially how this will change the way we work as accountants and some other things. But it's nice to have some, discussion here. So basically, now we have two sides views, right? So Adam mentioned that AI can be a threat, and others mentioned that AI can augment accountants' abilities. So Matt, what do you think?
Oh, I thought you meant Mike. But anyway, I actually saw it firsthand at Merrill Lynch. Like, it was almost a blessing and a curse because before meeting with a client to go over their portfolio and their financial plan, you just type in their information and hit generate report, and the computer does everything for you. So it's nice to have the convenience of having that prepared beforehand, but it puts pressure on you to have your soft skills developed even more and find other ways to provide value. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, yeah, we have very nice discussion here. So our conclusion is that the impacts of emerging technologies on accounting profession can be both bad and good, right? So that's why there is a need for us to learn more about emerging technology, so that we have the skill that we need to equip ourselves, right? So that the objective of this IT class is to teach you how to use the emerging technology, how to interpret them, and how to apply them in your future work. So that's a very good discussion there. So the next question, like as I said, we are going to discuss deeper in the next class, but let's think about how the pandemic is impacting accountants' use of technology and why. And have you seen any cases?
Hi, this is Claudia. Indeed, I think a lot of accounting professionals are faced nowadays with more challenges because some clients are not automated, do not have their files in a cloud-based system, so they rely heavily on a face-to-face interaction. I believe going forward, this will change as accountants will be able to either implement or help implement systems for their clients so that they can better assist them. And also in auditing purposes, my understanding is a lot of the audits are now being done remotely. I believe, for purposes of confidentiality or safety, security, they will be heavily dependent on electronic systems.
Yeah, this I totally agree. So actually, I was searching on Twitter of remote audit, this keyword. I saw a surge in tweets related to remote audit since the pandemic. So this actually is an anecdotal evidence that our current situation is forcing the auditors to embrace technology, right? Because now they need to do audits remotely, and they need to have other technologies. So I think that the pandemic is really forcing the accounting profession to further embrace the technology. And Miklos, you have a comment? You're muted, sorry.
Yes, that's all right.
Actually,
did you call on me? I don't know. I'm getting used to the system.
It's okay. Yeah, you can go first.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I actually was reading that because of the pandemic, a lot of accountants and even generally anyone working is more susceptible to cybersecurity attacks because they're working at home. So I guess that relates to their use of technology. They're more at risk for attacks.
Yeah, that's a great comment. Yeah, especially when everyone works at home, how can you make sure that the related controls are enforced, right? Yeah, so that's a great comment. So Professor?
So we wrote maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, we wrote a paper called the remote audit. and basically was Ryan Teeter's dissertation, one piece of Ryan. Ryan is now a professor in University of Pittsburgh. And everyone thought we were nuts. Actually, now the paper has been downloaded many, many times now. And because they are now trying to figure out, do they really need to go to the client? And I have recently, in several meetings I've had, have been hearing that how inefficient is going to the client. Why are you going to the client? You can do much more from home, monitoring what the client is doing and cooperating with the different people. So the whole idea of the physical body sitting on the engagement might progressively, is not going to disappear. Okay, Denise Applebaum, the one that I mentioned before, is very interested on using drones for inventory observation. And why? Because for particular large bulky items, it's much easier to do it that way. And she actually shows a drone that can have kind of an X-ray view. And you fly the drone and you can see, for example, if a structure is completed correctly and et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to show you a couple of the videos that Denise shows for you to see what you can do with drones. But yeah, my opinion is auditing is never going to go back to what it was before, because the profession, which is extremely, extremely conservative, was forced to do something differently. And because of that, they're going to start doing it differently because they discovered there is a better way to do this. And the other thing is the standard setters, like the PCOB, are very old-fashioned, but now they have to allow more creative ways, and they are going to accept it easier. So I think we are going to have a big change.
One reality is that since audit, especially public audit or external audit, is highly regulated here in the United States. So the firms are still in the exploring stage of usage of emerging technology. So many peer students, when they go to EY to do internship, they may find that auditors are still using the old-fashioned spreadsheet to do all these mundane work. So that's the reality. So on the one hand, firms are exploring these technologies like AI to use them in accounting and auditing. On the other hand, they are still using the traditional way of doing things. So we are having a mixed reality here. But we need to equip ourselves with this knowledge so that when there is a time for us to actually use these technologies, we are able to do it. So I just want to let you guys know that not all the firms are using these technologies, and in most cases, they are just exploring. This is the future we are heading to. Okay. So here I just want to introduce how, using some examples of how firms are using technologies in their business model and how they improve their operation with the assistance of AI. So the first example I give is Stitch Fix. I hope that some girls in the audience know about this firm. So have you guys heard about this firm, Stitch Fix?
No.
Okay. So basically this Stitch Fix is a company that like sends you clothes every month or every 2 months, you decide. They send you clothes. If you like it, you keep it. If you don't like it, you send them back. I subscribed to this service for about a year, and I found that, okay, so some background about this company. When you subscribe to their service, you first indicate like some of your preferences, like your height, your the style that you prefer, like all the basic stuff. And then they use machine learning to predict what style you like. So they have data of different customers, of your height, of your weight, of your preference. So they have a huge data set, and then they can do this data analytics, this prediction. And so they send it close to you based on their prediction. If you like it, you keep them. If you don't like it, you just send them back. And this is a way to make their algorithm learn more about your preference. So the next time when they send you clothes, most likely it's going to be the one that you like. So this is how the model works. So this, the creator of this company is actually from Harvard Business School. At first, when she had this idea of like sending you clothes without you pay first, this business model has been largely criticized by the creator's professor, because normally if you have a retail like clothes, you would have inventories first. You buy clothes from a manufacturer and you keep them as inventory, and then you rent some stores, let's say in New York City, and then you sell them. But their model is totally reverse. They first predict the demand from the customer, and then they go and manufacture the clothes based on their prediction. So it's totally a different business model. But now it seems that this company has gained some success because people, especially for white collar workers or students, most likely they don't have time to shop, and they want surprise from, like, they expect new clothes right every month. So this attracts a lot of young people, and most likely they send you clothes that you like. So their business, at least for the last time I checked, is doing well. So they basically rely on machine learning, right? As I said, they predict the style you like, and they reinforce or make the algorithm learn by the fact that you send back the things you don't like and keep the things that you like. So they have this loop of like they have more data, right, about you, and then they can make more accurate predictions. However, recently I found that the clothes they send me, I don't like them very much. And one potential cause of this dissatisfaction is that they charge you a styling fee. If you return any item, you pay the styling fee. If you keep all the item, you don't need to pay the styling fee, and they give you 20% discount for all the items you keep. So I personally think this is a disadvantage in their algorithm, because for me, when I return something, I would do this calculation. Is it economically beneficial for me to return something? So I cannot return everything I don't like, right? So I think this is a default in their algorithm. But this is just a side note. And if you are interested in this company, you can search more information. But this is a very typical example of how a company starts from scratch, whose business model is backed by machine learning. And Amazon.
Let me just make one comment, Abby. In this book that we are going to discuss, Prediction Machines, I actually go to your next slide.
Sure.
Prediction Machines, they actually imagine Amazon. Oh, that's right. You have it there, so I don't need to talk about it.
Yeah. So Amazon basically they already patented this idea of, they call it anticipatory. So it's similar to Stitch Fix. They send you stuff before you buy them. So they can send you stuff like every month, and then you like it, you keep them. If you don't like it, you send them back. So this is a similar idea, but it also is backed by big data analytics or machine learning. So this is completely different from the traditional model where they keep the inventory and then they manage how the things flow. And Walmart. So Walmart is a big innovator in the retail industry. So actually, Walmart is very active in using emerging technologies. So they recently have a intelligent retail lab. So in this small store of them, they use a combination of cameras and real-time analytics to predict when they need to restock products on their shelves. And Walmart is also working with IBM to create a blockchain that can digitize the food supply to ensure the food safety. So I think they started this after there was an issue with the lettuce, romaine lettuce. So Walmart is really a player in this blockchain. And they are also using big data analytics to predict sales in order to generate more higher sales turnover. So I found this information about how Walmart is using big data. So you can look into the details if you like, but basically Walmart is able to collect customer data from different sources, and the data has like textual information or other information, so you analyze it, and then they predict what you like. So basically, this is the big idea. And actually, in one of our sessions later, we are going to talk about the privacy versus analytics, right? Because there is a concern about privacy if the company or the government is using these technologies to analyze sensitive data. So we'll get to that point. But the general idea is that technology can do these things. And then UPS. So UPS, although it's a delivery company, they are also innovating by adopting AI. So they are using AI-based chatbot to mimic the human conversation to respond to our customer queries, and they can interact with the customer using texts or using natural language, like how we speak, which is similar to Alexa and Google. I hope when I say Alexa, if you guys have that device in your room, I hope I didn't activate your device. And UPS is also using what they call Orion, on-road integrated optimization navigation system to give the driver the optimized routes for their delivery. And basically, this is a machine learning based routing system. And UPS said this system has saved them a lot of money because the system can choose a very economical way to deliver packages. And also they are trying to use drones to do autonomous deliveries. So this is UPS. So I heard that Kiara is interested in interior design, right? And it just happened that I have an example of how technology is being used in this domain. So basically, the designers are using virtual reality or augmented reality or extended reality to enable like so that they can do design just by using this Oculus, this device. So they can see virtually the house, like inside, and move tables by just drag and drop. So this really is amazing for the interior design industry and also for the architectures. So there are so many more examples. So here I want to just hear one or two more examples from you guys. Can you give an example of how companies are using AI or other technologies? It doesn't have to be related to accounting. So you can just just say it out loud if you know some.
Ad targeting by, say, every social media company.
Right. So yeah, so they are tailoring ads for different users, right? Yes, that's a good example. I want to hear one more.
Siri, for example.
Siri. So the Siri is pretty smart recently. Yeah, so these are all good examples. And you will see that there is companies are investing in the AI technology, and they do see some benefits from these investments, such as increase in sales, decrease in costs, and other things. So I think I can skip these topics, but I just want to mention the concept of innovator's dilemma. Professor Christensen from Harvard Business School, who passed away about 2 months ago, he had this idea of innovator's dilemma, which says there are basically two types of technologies. The first type is called sustaining technology. So this type of technology is built based on old or existing technologies. We can say that augmented reality is an improvement on virtual reality. So basically, sustaining technology is improving based on the existing technology. But disruptive technology is a completely new thing that can disrupt the whole market. So the theory is that even though sometimes disruptive technologies can benefit the companies more, the firms are less likely to invest in disruptive technologies because of how managers are being measured, because they focus on return on assets. But most likely, the disruptive technologies will not give managers a short-term gain immediately. So the managers are less likely to invest in those technologies. They want to invest in sustaining technologies, and this is the dilemma that prevents big companies from being being really innovative. So we see that in many times it's the small firms that start with a completely different business model, and then they take over the market and then become the big guy. So this is his theory. If you are interested, you can read his book. It's called The Innovator's Dilemma, and I think it's a good read for everyone. So there are some questions to ponder, like how the internet is changing our brain. What's the new type of education that's needed nowadays, since you can search everything on Google, right? So if you can learn everything from Google, why do you need education like that we are doing nowadays? And how to teach in the digital era, especially now the pandemic hits, a lot of the classes are moved online, right? How do we adapt, and how will future jobs look like? So these are just questions to ponder.